Hey, Scott Kennedy, Dave Holcomb. We are here to talk Atlanta Falcons draft. Kyle Pitts, first round pick. What are they going to do in the second round? If you don't know Dave Holcomb has covered the Atlanta Falcons for several years. We worked together at Sports Illustrated, and we're working together now at allfalcons.com. As you come in, welcome. Feel free to make sure and you hit those comments. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. So I wanted to bring you in. I wanted to have a little back and forth, and we haven't talked about this much going in about what did you think about the Kyle Pitts pick at number 4. I don't think it was all that controversial, just because of who he is as a prospect. You're not gonna pick Kyle Pitts and be like, man, that's gonna be a bust. You might have preferred to go in a different direction, and that's where I sit. And I want to talk about that a little bit. But when you're looking at the Kyle Pitts pick at number 4 with the Atlanta Falcons and where this team is now, what were your thoughts on it? Where did you think they might go, and what did you think about how they did go?
Yeah, I think wanting them to address a bigger need is definitely a gripe you can have. But where they were at 4, we want to talk about maybe they shouldn't have won as many games as 4 games to try and move, be higher in the draft to get one of those quarterbacks. That's a separate debate. But with the 4th pick and not being able to trade back, I think they had to do what they did with taking the best available player. He is the safest pick. I like safe picks. That's just my style. That's my approach with the draft. I like taking players that have lower risk, especially in the first round. If you want to take somebody that is more of a boom bust guy in the second round or third round, after you get a surefire starter in the first round, that is, I think, a strategy you could have. But at number 4, you want to hit on that pick, and they're going to hit with Kyle Pitts for sure.
Yeah, and I think my general disappointment with it was, and you can know because I've been banging the drum since January, was when Justin Fields was available, and they passed on Justin Fields, and I think generally, I honestly think most people that are disappointed with the pick wanted a quarterback because they don't want Matt Ryan, and I think you can be in the I want Matt Ryan, but I still want a quarterback camp, which is where I am. He's 30. He's going to be 36 years old.
Right.
So, and when I start hearing the only problem I have with the best player available argument is that's subjective. People say that, and this, I'm not taking this at you, and maybe I read in tone. It's a lot easier to do this in person. You can hear my voice when I say it. People throw out best player available like that's a trump card, like it's a fact. Well, you just take best player available. Well, this is a crapshoot to a certain extent. He might not be the best player available. Mm-hmm. And for me, where the pick means, what does it signal? Where is this team going? What are they trying to do? Is this a right now pick? Because he doesn't help you right now. And I'd be happy to have, and please, there's a bunch of people starting to come in. I would love to have this debate, this conversation on why Kyle Pitts doesn't necessarily help you right now. And if not, I'll tell you why. Compared to another position, if you had to stay in that place, if you have to stay in that place, Penei Sewell to me is a best player available. This is a player who could have been a number 1 overall in a different draft. Penei Sewell is a possible best player available in a premium position at offensive tackle in a place where you desperately need to get better across the offensive line. So for me, that made a lot more sense than another pass catcher. I think there's 2 positions of strength on this Falcons team: receiver and linebacker. And those aren't necessarily receiver. You can go as high as 4, but nobody's ever gone as high as 4. And there's only one football. So I don't mind having 3 awesome linebackers, but how many receivers do you need when you can't run the ball and you can't protect your quarterback and you can't stop anybody? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So what's your message as a team? What are your thoughts as the organization on what are your honest goals? And they're not going to ever tell us. But what are your honest goals for 2021 and 2022? Because I think this team missed its window, and it's time for a rebuild. Mm-hmm. And a 4-12 team with a 36-year-old quarterback needs a quarterback. So, and unless you just didn't want either of the 2 guys there, then you needed to take your quarterback or you needed to come out of that spot and acquire picks.
I will admit that I like Matt Ryan, and me wanting to stick with Matt Ryan, I do feel like I'm biased or have a little bit of nostalgic for Matt Ryan in his prime, the 2016 Matt Ryan, the 2018 Matt Ryan. And I think not that the Falcons owe Matt Ryan anything, but to me, it's just they were so close with Matt Ryan to getting to the top of the heap that it's like Matt Ryan is not at the point where he's a below average quarterback. He's still an above average quarterback. Can you put pieces around him quick enough to rebuild this team on the fly and get back to the point where you can win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan? And that was why I like the pick of Pitts, because I think it does help rebuild this team on the fly. But I see what you're saying. I mean, they have so many holes on defense, didn't address that last night, that how are they going to be able to fill all of those needs before Matt Ryan does become an average or below average quarterback?
Yeah, and we've got people coming in, and please hit the comment button. Also, hit the comments. But in order to get more people to come in, hit that like, follow, share, or subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and do that. And again, this is going back to your point, Dave. This is where I start having issue with the player. So you mentioned 2018 Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
okay? I wrote this down. 2018 Matt Ryan, I believe, was 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yeah,
that may have been 2019. 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. In 2019, when Julio was fully healthy, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Austin Hooper were 237 catches, 3,000 yards, and 19 touchdowns.
Yeah.
How much better is this trio going to be? Because that team finished 7-9, and they've gone backwards since then. So realistically, if you look at this from a Moneyball perspective, you're not adding Kyle Pitts. You're taking away from Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. In a sense, that's one way it's going to happen. There's only one football. You've got two 1,400-yard receivers already on the team. You got a guy you turned into a Pro Bowler in Austin Hooper at tight end. And some of the people say, well, look at what these guys. I don't even know their names. I can't even tell you who played tight end for Tennessee last year. Look at the production those guys had. Well, that's my point. You don't need to have an uber talented tight end to have production from the tight end position in this system. Yeah. And you're not, and again, you said it, I'll say it again, is you didn't, if you're going to try and go one more shot at this thing, which, again, I think you've missed that. You've missed that window. But if you're going to try, how are you going to do that if you can't run the ball, protect your quarterback, or stop anybody? Yeah. It's like, well, how are you going to cover all these guys? I see get some comments coming in. And I love it. Now I'm going to hit a couple of these. It says Julio doesn't catch TDs though, and I like that, because when I'm going through the numbers and it says 237 catches, 3,000 yards, and 19 touchdowns for those three guys, Julio doesn't catch TDs. Now, why? Why is that? Because I think a lot of it has to do because he's not on the field. They use Julio Jones so much as a running back with a quick bubble screen that he's got 6 catches for 60 yards and he's taken 72 hits by the time they get to the red zone that he comes to the sidelines. Yeah. So, and Terry, I appreciate it, says, and Terry said he's not a typical tight end. No, he's not. He's a receiver. We've already got receivers. How are you going to stop those 3 receivers? Easy. You keep them in 3rd and long and you put Matt Ryan on his ass. That's worked very, very well the last 4 years. So I don't like that pick for right now. Now, what if Julio gets traded? What if Julio's not there? What if Julio, they have to clear almost $12 million of salary cap room just to sign this draft class? Now what? Okay, well, now you're at least holding you're holding your line for the next 10 years. You've got a ready-made replacement. Now it starts making a little sense to me. Now you're betting that Matt Ryan can be a productive quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. So, and Kent Chapman says Pitts can catch anything, but he can't pass block. Well, hell, that sounds like Calvin Ridley. Yeah. He's not one of those guys. Two of those guys.
I'm hopeful that Pitts can learn how to block, but yeah, he comes into the league as a Calvin Ridley type.
So no, and I think that the scheme itself should help a couple of those issues I have with this team, which is the 27th ranked running game and the 5th most sacks allowed. Arthur Smith should fix some of that just by being a better offensive coach and having a scheme. So that's what I'm hoping. And now you got to start addressing the offense, which I think is a good segue, Dave, for who are some of the players to look at, because I was a little upset yesterday. Just looking at this, I'm like, Kyle Pitts, he just doesn't help this team get out of the 4-12, no defense, can't run the ball, can't pass block nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now I start looking who is available with the 3rd pick in the 2nd round, and I'm like, whoa. Now I'm like, okay, Kyle Pitts and Boogie Basham. Okay, now we're talking, or some of these other guys. So, where do you think the Falcons need to go early, or some of the players, or I can take that one either way.
Yeah, I'll leave the players up to you. I don't dig real deep into the mock drafts before the draft actually happens, especially past the 2nd round. But I mean, I can hit positions and really defense, any position on defense is what needs to be addressed tonight, and probably the 2nd and 3rd round. Mm-hmm. Pairing somebody with AJ Terrell would be really nice. They lack depth at safety and pass rush. I mean, for the entire time I've been covering the Falcons, they've had virtually no pass rush. And with the amount of passing that's in the NFL today, you have to have a pass rush in order to win games. And you help your secondary by having a pass rush. So they're not going to get, a Chase Young type, a real game changer pass rusher. That guy wasn't in this draft. But if they can get somebody to help the pass rush, that would be very, very good.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I've said it before. The best defensive back in the world is a quarterback on his ass. And that's where you can make corners a lot of money if you've got an edge rusher. And that was the problem. As Terry says, I think it's better than to have a QB sit a few years. It's better to have another guy. And I'm okay with that, except for this trade. I put it out on Twitter on our All Falcons account. This trade is going to be judged by 3 ways. 1, how good is Pitts? He should be pretty good. He should be pretty good. 2, who's playing quarterback after Matt Ryan? Because if you had taken Justin Fields, you'd have a guy that you think should be ready in 2 years. Okay? And 3 is how good does Justin Fields end up? Because if Pitts we think is going to be pretty good, we feel pretty good about that. 2, who's playing after Matt Ryan? I don't feel so good about that. If he can go another 4 or 5 years, then it's not a problem. 3, how good is Justin Fields going to be? I think Justin Fields is going to be pretty damn good, and we passed up on him to take a tight end that we didn't need. But no, there was not a defensive player at the 4 spot. There wasn't. So that's why I said it would have made sense. I would have killed for the 49ers to offer the Falcons what they offered Miami. 3 first-round picks. Yeah. I'm jumping out of the 4 spot like my hair's on fire. For sure.
I think you tweeted about it last night too. Was there an offer? We'll never find out, but was there an offer from the Chicago Bears to go up to 4 to get Justin Fields that high? I mean, it's possible that the Bears just got interested in Justin Fields when he started to slide. Maybe there was no discussion of them going up that far to number 4. But we don't know exactly what the teams in front of Chicago thought, but we know that Chicago thought Justin Fields was worth 2 number 1 draft picks. Yeah,
that's what we know. Right. So I'm going to go through some of my players here a little bit, some of the guys that are available, and I've got about 8 of them. So at least one of them should be available with the 3rd pick in the draft tonight. I was no math major, but I think I can figure this one out. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Now he is Deion Jones-esque. He's 220 pounds, super speedy, super smart, instinctive linebacker. I asked Brian Driscoll, one of our colleagues from Fan Nation Sports Illustrated at Irish Breakdown, if he could play safety, and he didn't say no, but he focused all on in the box type of stuff. I don't know. I think he's the best player available. I truly do. I think he is the best player available, but when you've got three good linebackers, and the Falcons have three good linebackers, is the next best player good enough? And that's where I am with him. So I think Owusu Koromoa could go in the first 2 picks, might not be there anyway. I would be hard-pressed to pass him up, though, if he ends up at 35. And I don't know how much you've seen about him, but, if you can drop him back to a safety position, I think he would be a pretty good idea. Dan, appreciate you jumping in from YouTube. So I think we go secondary, cornerback, Samuel Jr., Asante Samuel Jr. I'm going to go with a different guy on that. I'm going to go right here with Trayvon Merrick, safety out of TCU. Now, Dave, if you were going to talk about needs on defense, where would you start?
From a depth perspective, safety has to be number one. I mean, there was a point this offseason, I know it's not the case anymore, but did they have 0 safeties or 1 safety on the roster? The position's very thin, especially cutting the 2 starters and arguably cornerstones of your defense that helped you go to the Super Bowl a few years ago.
And the guy that replaced that starter. So it's like the Falcons cut 3 starters. So the Falcons have to come out of this draft with a starting safety. They have to. This goes beyond reach for need. This goes beyond we don't have another safety, period.
Yeah. Right.
They have to come up with a safety. I mean, they got a journeyman special teams guy, and then they picked up a starter from Detroit that should be okay.
Yeah.
So I think Trayvon Merrick, the safety out of TCU, Thorpe Award winner for the best defensive back in college at 6'2", 210. And if you watch his video, he's really good in coverage. He can do it all. So I think he had a first-round grade. I think the guy that does most of the digital work for NFL Network, I forgot his name already, Jack Daniels or Jeremiah Daniels or somebody like that, has him as high as 15 overall. I had another guy that I really liked at that position that would be available, Richie Grant, who I have seen a lot more of. I saw him down at Senior Bowl at UCF, almost 6 foot, 200 pounds, super instinctive, and all those type of things. So he can be had maybe a little bit later. Maybe they package a 4 and a 3 and move up to get another 2, and they get 2 safeties. Ace of Spades, welcome for checking in. Appreciate you being here. Bobby, the pass rusher out of Georgia. Bobby Means on YouTube says the pass rush out of Georgia. He's talking about Aziz Oluz. I have to read it or I'm going to screw it up. Aziz Oluzari. I have to read it. I didn't even put him down because right now the medical questions around his knee are too big of a question mark. So maybe, but that would scare me off enough with the players that are available in the 3 spot in the second round that I might go a different direction, including Carlos Boogie Basham. Dan says, I like Richie too, but third. Yeah, Dan, that's where I had him at first. When I wrote something up in January about 3 safeties that could be available in the third, I had Richie there because I thought he was a 60 type of pick, so he might slide to the third. Just a reminder, because there's a bunch of y'all coming in. Hit like, follow, share, and subscribe. Most of you are all probably subscribers already, followers on YouTube or Facebook, or you wouldn't be here. But hit that like and share button. That helps us out a ton. Want to hit a couple of other comments here. And Dan says, he just corrected himself. I thought that was when I looked at it at first, was thinking he was saying, no, not there. And Terry Mathis says, we need to draft the defensive tackle from Alabama. Terry, he's my next guy. I thought he might go in the first round. When they were saying that Alabama broke a record, I was thinking, well, it's not done yet. Christian Barmore and Landon Dickerson could still go. They could have 7 guys go in the first round. And I don't know how much you've seen of these guys, Dave, but feel free to jump in on some of these players if you have.
I haven't seen them a whole lot, to be honest. So I'm tonight when I'm watching who the Falcons pick, it's going to be based on what positions, what needs are they addressing, and then I'll read the breakdowns of the players and then provide hopefully some of my insight on allfalcons.com.
Help me out with this one. The Falcons got a big defensive tackle from Auburn last year. Where is he? Where is he? What's going on with him?
Where is he in their plans?
Yeah.
That's a good question. You would like to think that he becomes, that other partner in crime with Grady Jarrett, but second round pick should be a starter, to be honest, but haven't seen that from him yet. It's another disappointment. The Falcons, not that you're drafting a defensive tackle to be a pass rusher per se, but he had pass rush potential and has not lived up to that. The Falcons, again, missing on pass rushers.
Well, you know what I wouldn't mind doing is dropping an Alabama Crimson Tide guy right next to the Auburn guy and see if we can't stoke a little competition right there. 310 pounds of Christian Barmore. He was all SEC by the coaches and by the AP. I think that would be a pretty good pick to go in that way, as well. And I mentioned this player earlier, Carlos Basham, and I put DL next to his name instead of just DE or defensive tackle because he's 6'3" and change, 275 pounds. He actually came in at 280 at the Senior Bowl, and he played inside outside. The problem with him is couple of mocks I looked at Jacksonville, because that's where you got to know is where might Jacksonville go, where might the Jets go. They all had him taking Boogie Basham in the first round. and then like Travis Etienne in the third. I'm like, well, everybody thinks they were going to take him anyway. And Wake Forest down to Jacksonville is not that bad a drive for him. So Carlos Boogie Basham, the best nickname in the draft, could end up going to Wake Forest. But if he's available with the third pick in the second round, I think he would be a really, really interesting pick because he can do so many things with his quickness and strength. Good hands. 280 pounds, can play inside, outside, depending on down and distance and scheme. Obviously, you don't want him playing inside on 3rd and 1, but on 3rd and 8, you might have him play inside and try and split a gap. So, and Mo Ron, that's not a coincidence. Says it's a great name, Basham. You know who's got the best name in this? And I grew up with Thane Gash. I don't know how it's a good age check for you guys, but Thane Gash was a defensive back for the safety and makes for the Cleveland Browns and is an all-name team for me. Basham is good. I do like that. But Divine Diablo, safety from Virginia Tech. I think he's got the best name in the draft. Diablo. When you hear Diablo, I thought they were calling a scheme. Diablo. And it's a safety for Virginia Tech. So, Mo, appreciate the comment on there. Now, obviously, it's not just – those are the defensive guys that I'm looking for in the and just to run through them again real quick, for those of you that are joining a little late, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was a first-round grade. Linebacker, safety, hybrid type of guy, can maybe do a little things, a couple different things. My true safety here, and I think if he's there, this is where I would go. This is a guy I would go. Is Trayvon Merrick, safety, Thorpe Award winner, 6'2", 210 out of TCU. Falcons have to have a safety. They have to. And he's not just I've said the best player available. Well, this could be the best player available, and it fits a dire need. That's how you get better. That's how you really improve. So that's where I'm going there. Richie Grant, maybe later in the second or possibly third. Basham, if he's there, is someone to watch for, and Barmore, defensive tackle. So you come out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 players come out of the second round with one of those 5 players, and you just got better on defense. And now you look and say Kyle Pitts and Carlos Basham. Yeah. Trayvon Morig and Kyle Pitts, yeah, this team just got a lot better. I like it. There's some interesting things there. But what about the other side of the ball? They've got a guy that could get some work in for Alex Mack. But would you say there's an opening for a starting center for the Atlanta Falcons?
I think so, yeah. And Landon Dickerson, there aren't I said I'm not an expert with these, second round guys, but Dickerson's a name that was floated around in the first round as a late, 20, maybe around 20, 25 pick. I saw him to the Steelers at 24 in some mock drafts. So he would be a very nice pick tonight for the Falcons.
And I think one of the reasons he is sliding is because of an injury.
Right.
The question on so much here, but if you haven't seen it, and I thought I copied it in here.
That was in the SEC championship game, right?
But how's he feeling now? Let me bring up this video for everybody real quick. And this was really a lot of fun. Bring this up here. Got to share my screen. Sorry, everybody. Share screen. Yeah, see, that's us. Then I go here. And how worried are you about that guy's knee? That's Landon Dickerson coming off of his knee surgery at 6'6", 225 pounds. 325 pounds, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The
knee looks pretty good there.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily too worried about that one. I think he's doing good, and to be able to pull that off 3 in a row with flexibility, and he was a tackle. He was a tackle before he came to Alabama, and they said you're going to be a center, and all he did was win the Remington Award winner for the best center in college football. So,
right.
Yeah, there's a need there as far as I'm concerned, and I think he fits it. So, again, my concerns with the team were not receiving. They weren't. They were run blocking, pass blocking, and the entire defense outside of linebacker.
Right.
So this is a good player who fits a need. It helps that offense. And Terry says, didn't we get a safety from the Raiders? Yes. He is a journeyman, may have started half a dozen games in his career. A good story. It's almost like Kurt Warner, but he's not going to win Super Bowl MVP. He's there for depth and leadership. He's not a starter. If he's a starter in this league, we're in trouble. So they actually signed, I think, 3 guys. But with Deron Harris being the guy that they're penciling in to be one of the starters. But other than that, other than him, they've got to get a starter. Would you consider Ice Cap on YouTube? Appreciate it. Would you consider trading a second pick for a second pick in the 3rd round to grab Kyle Trask? No, I wouldn't. I mean, if you can trade for a second pick, if I could get someone wanted to trade a 3 for a 7 straight up, maybe. But no, I don't think that he's a quarterback of the future. I think you can do better 3-4 years down the line. I think that if you had a chance to grab an elite quarterback now, that was where you needed to go. So the Justin Fields, or if you thought that Trey Lance was the guy, or if Zach Wilson falls to you, I think that's the guy. But I saw someone else mention earlier. Let me see if I can find it. It was Terry again about Jamie Newman or Kellen Mond. I wouldn't use anything higher than a 7th on Jamie Newman. And I'd go 3rd round with Kellen Mond, but I think the Falcons still have bigger needs to fill. And this class is so deep on the interior offensive line that I think you can go get your center and your guard. And that's a good segue for me with one more guy. Creed Humphrey is still there. A lot of people thought that he might sneak into the 1st round. Oklahoma, and I put OL for him and not just OCOGOT because at the Senior Bowl he played all 3 and he did them very, very well. Had a really good pro day, a 509 shuttle, 33-inch, or a 509 40, 33-inch vert, 446 shuttle. Those are your side-to-side numbers and very, very good. So I think Creed could be a good pickup as well on the interior line. Now, how do you feel, Dave, about the offensive line in general? Because the numbers on aggregate are awful. They're awful. But we're the only team in NFL history to have former 1st rounders, well. Is it scheme, coaching, desire, a little bit of both? Or, do we need some new personnel there? Will the scheme and Arthur Smith focusing on the run and the play action and the 2 tight ends really, really help make this OL a better unit?
Usually when you have a unit, struggle this much, the problem isn't just one thing. It's multiple areas. And that's what I would say is that, part of some of those 1st round picks were not kept on their original teams and for a reason, because they weren't really playing like 1st round talent. And the Falcons signed a couple of those guys a few years ago that maybe they shouldn't have signed. But and then Caleb McGarry, late first round pick, hasn't really worked out to be worth trading up for. I really like Chris Lindstrom. I think that's a guy you can build around. But now the center is now a hole kind of as well. So you got to bring in new personnel. You got to hope that also that the scheme with Arthur Smith is going to improve the offensive line. I think it will, because he really was able to get a lot out of. I mean, he had Derrick Henry, of course, but we saw Derrick Henry wasn't what he was now before Arthur Smith got there. So I think his scheme is really going to help. And you hate to put more resources into this offensive line, because you just mentioned all of the free agency and draft capital that's gone into it, but you got to keep throwing more resources at it until it's fixed.
Yeah, and hopefully, if there's one thing, I'm a firm believer in the KISS philosophy, keep it simple, stupid. And this looks like a really simple scheme. Smash the guys in the mouth, quick reads, run the ball, play action. And it's going to be successful. These guys, you start talking to me about playbooks that are this thick, or he can't handle the playbook. Well, then something's wrong with your playbook. It shouldn't be that hard. So, Luke, welcome. Appreciate you being here. There's so many options in the second round. I just can't believe it. If we get one of them defensive steals and get Trask in round 3, I'll be ecstatic. Trask in the third round isn't necessarily a bad pick. And Dan saying Trask is hot garbage after I kind of talked it down a little bit. But, I also said about Trask is that he's Mac Jones light. Their resumes are awfully similar, that there's not a ton of difference between the two. And if you're going to spend a 15 on Mac Jones, and you can spend a 95 on Kyle Trask, then maybe you're going to need a quarterback in this spot. So, I think that it's a possibility. There's other holes, but with the depth on the defensive lines and the needs at safety and the offensive line, and the interior line, I'd be hard pressed to use a third round on that. And let me get to two more guys here that I really like. If this is not your first time watching me, then you've heard me talk this guy up for 3 months. Spencer Brown, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa. That is not a typo. He is 6'8.5", 315 pounds. So, how can he possibly play, you ask, Scott? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. So let me share my screen again real quick.
Do you have him doing cartwheels too?
What I've got him doing is burying guys and gliding up the field. Share screen. We'll go here. Share. And as I share the screen with him, remember, I said he was 6'8.5", 315 pounds. This is him at tackle at 6'9". He is so flexible that I want you to watch when they get set. He disappears behind the guard. He's just gone. So this is him here. He's gone. That guy's 6'9". And watch him just glide up the field. Here's again in a pass set. If people ask me about the pit edge rushers, I say no thank you, and he's a big reason why. Spencer Brown. He'll be available late second. He's gone again. Where'd he go? He's 6'9". Look how quick he got. I'm going to run that one again. Watch how quick he gets out to the second level. That's Basham right there, and then he's out on the second level. How can he be that good, you ask? If you look at his numbers, 4.88 40 at 6'9" and 315 pounds. Yeah. 10'7" vertical, or 10'7". I'm looking at the next guy because that was his teammate. 6'9" L cone. Sub-7 L cone will get you to play linebacker. And a 4.34 shuttle. Now, we just mentioned Creed Humphrey at 4.46, which was really good. I mentioned safety Trevon Merrick. His was 4.2. He had a 4.2 shuttle. Richie Grant had a 4.27. This guy's 6'9", 300 pounds, and he's got a 4.34 shuttle. Change of direction. Athleticism. Spencer Brown is going to be a steal in this class. I absolutely love him. So if the Falcons were to say, I want to get a tackle, I want to get a right tackle and forget about that position for the next 10 years, I'm going Spencer Brown. So Dave, what are you hoping for out of as we get out of here? And we appreciate all the comments. It sure makes it a whole lot more fun. What are you hoping for coming out of it tonight?
Well, addressing the needs that you've already brought up. It's interesting. I haven't really thought about the Falcons taking a Kyle Trask type or a quarterback, which our watchers have brought up. I think really good questions. But to address what you kind of said it right at the top of the show, what direction is this team going in? Mm-hmm. To me, taking a quarterback tonight would contradict the pick that you made last night, in that you're making your picks assuming that Matt Ryan is going to be your quarterback for 3, 4, hopefully 5 more years, and you can still go to the Super Bowl with him. So you have so many other needs you have to address in order to get to that position of winning a championship. Quarterback is not going to help you if you're counting on Matt Ryan being the guy. So I think I agree with you that quarterback is not the place to go, and you got to get some of these other positions that you've brought up.
Yeah, so I think you're gonna need a quarterback. You're gonna need a backup, but I think you can go veteran free agent with that,
right.
and be okay. And I'm with Tyler on this for the second round. I want Trayvon with the 3rd overall pick. I want Trayvon Merrick out of the safety out of TCU. That's where I want to go. I'd be thrilled, and I'm going to run through them again for anybody that came in late. I'd be thrilled with any of these guys. Linebacker safety, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Trayvon Moreg, safety, TCU. Richie Grant, safety, UCF. That'd be a little bit of a reach. Carlos Basham, DL Wake Forest. Jacksonville's going to take him. Christian Barmore, defensive tackle. And then to shore up the interior offensive line, Landon Dickerson, Alabama. Creed Humphrey, Oklahoma. Dave, thank you for joining me on late notice. It's good to have somebody to banter back and forth with, and your knowledge of the team for the last couple of years it trumps mine, and I can help plug in where the players could fit better, because I know the guys coming out of college a little bit better.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
It was a lot of fun here, and I want to say thanks to all the people that commented. We had a nice slew: Ace of Spades, Dan, Luke, a regular, Terry, Tyler. I don't want to forget everybody, but yeah, go watch that Spencer Brown video that I just dropped in the chat on this, and then tell me that he can't play. This guy should be. He's got top 5 athleticism. He really does. I mean, I've compared the guy athletically to LeBron James. I'm like, who else is 6'9", 300 pounds with that can have these kind of jumps? So, by the way, he's got a teammate who's 6'6.5", 265. With a 41.5-inch vertical leap. What the hell is going on in Northern Iowa? So I appreciate everybody stopping in. Again, before you get done, mash that button wherever you happen to be watching. Like, follow, or share, and subscribe. It's a big help. It helps push those algorithms. And we'll be back on Monday to wrap up the whole draft. And I'm excited again. I was a little disappointed last night, and we talked about that at the top of the show. But I'm excited again because there's some really good players on the board. So, Dave, thanks for being here. And y'all, thanks for watching. And let's enjoy the draft tonight, and we'll see you next week.